give you a sneak peek. This is our first unveiling of In His Image. In His Image is a program that we're going to kick off on the new year with the intent of each day, with everything that we do, we're setting goals in order to grow to be in His image. Because again, we're fighting the enemy, and I'm determined that everything I do spiritually, physically, and attitudinally, I want Him to control my mind. So I hope that you'll join us for a January event where we will have accountability and specific plans to grow in 2024 in His image. Here's a picture again of us in immersion. Oh, you'll also see Bren brought her, I don't know if it's a near infrared light, but she brought a device that we were doing facials with. So if that just gives you other ideas.
She's not here today, right?
No, she's at a fall festival. And oh my, look how Sandy and Judy said we did a postural exercises. You can see them here. That was on our spa immersion day, and you can see Michelle back here. We had a good time. And so we'll do again postural exercises on the 18th of November, and Lord willing, we'll do it again on December 2nd if it works well. Okay. And then Judy and I were discussing, we have our spa cafe. We'd like to have maybe a day, it could be our December 2nd day, where we just want to share with one another knowledges about what we're eating, what we're consuming. I know Mary Kay a few months ago talked about doing a recipe book. And so on December 2nd, we may do a day and call it Spa Cafe, which would be like going to a coffee shop with your girlfriends, only coming together here. And we're going to share things all the way from doing shots that could be beets and turmeric or ginger or activated charcoal. We could go down the detox of bentonite clay and spirulina and chlorella, to just herbs that we want to share with one another. So I'm looking forward to December 2nd as a potential date where we could have a spa cafe date.
Also in the morning, right?
I'm thinking 9 in the morning.
Okay.
Did you have a different suggestion?
No,
Just want to make
works
sure
good.
that they block my calendar.
Okay. And with that, again, we are just so appreciative for Dr. Gigi for all that she does for the community and for us, and what a treasure it is to have her here with her busy schedule and newlywed now. Last time we saw her was before her wedding, and we're so glad to have you back again. So let's get our one welcome to Dr. Gigi.
I love, Tom, because you guys are always so welcoming. And Stephanie, your organization, and you always are doing something new, like kayaking and biking and bar and all these different things. It's like, it's awesome. So I'm happy that I can, contribute in my way as much as I can for the women here. And everyone's so welcoming and nice. So today we'll talk about the lymphatic flow. We were supposed to do that on the last time we were here, but we didn't have time because there's so much information to pack in that short amount of time that we had that morning. So now we're doing a spin-off, and I'm doing only lymphatic talk today. And I know for some people, Mary Kay, when I came in, she's like, I don't even know what's the lymphatic system. So, and a lot of people don't actually realize how important it is in all the functions it has. A lot of times we think only, it helps with the, immune system and killing infections, because we, notice our lymph nodes get all swollen sometimes, and we know we're clearing out some things, but it does also other things that we don't know about. So hopefully today you'll get some, more knowledge on exactly what the lymphatic system is and what it does, and how we can actually promote it to have a better flow, which is really important for our general health and function. So the lymphatic system is both part of the cardiovascular, the circulatory system, which is our heart, our arteries, our veins, but it also plays a part in the immune system. And it's comprised of different vessels, nodes, and lymphoid tissue, like the thymus and the spleen and the bone marrow, because all those areas there, they're packed with immune cells. So that's why they go with the lymphatic system, which we don't really think about those areas being part of the lymphatic system. You think, oh, it's just the immune system, but they all work together. So I just wanted to put this up here because this is basically the lymphatic, all the lymphatic vessels. So as you can see, it basically maps out our whole body. It's from our toes up to our head. And you'll see the brain area doesn't have it, but the brain area has a different system that's called the lymphatic, which we're going to talk about, which is also a part of the lymphatic system. So it just has its own way of clearing off toxins and doing what it needs to do. But basically, it maps out the whole body. So the reason why we have this is 3 reasons. One, we already kind of talked. We talked about how it helps us fight infections and defends us and prevents bacteria and viruses and things like that. The biggest function, though, where the circulatory component comes in, is how it actually balances out our fluids. Because we're going to dive a little bit deeper with some anatomy so you can understand that better. But as our blood runs through us, there's areas where it comes together with the veins and it starts pulling out fluid. So that fluid has to come back into the circulatory system, back into our blood. And the way that that happens is through the lymphatic system. And that's why we have that there. Or else we would be with big legs, all swollen, we'll have swollen hands and things like that. And then the last part, the last function that most people don't know about is actually it does transport fats. It transports hormones. It transports bigger proteins that cannot fit into the blood vessels. So, and also it also pulls out waste products and clears all those things out. So it's very, very important to make sure that it's working properly. So this is just a little bit more deeper dive. This is the cardiovascular system, right? And then the green stuff here is the lymphatic system. Actually, the lymph is very clear. And if you do open a cadaver, it's really hard to see even the vessels because everything's pretty clear and thin. But what happens is our blood, our circulatory system is a closed system. So we have our heart that pumps out the blood, goes through the arteries, and then it goes to the capillaries where it starts becoming, now the oxygen leaves from the arteries, so it can go to our muscles, to our tissues, to our cells to feed up all those areas and give out the nutrients, and then it becomes into the veins, and it goes back into the heart and lungs to oxygenate it again and go through the whole cycle again. But as we said, in these areas where it comes to the capillaries, because the junctions are not as tight, because we need the glucose to move out of the blood system. It needs those different nutrients and molecules and vitamins to go out to the different cells to feed them. Not only do those come out, but we also have our plasma, which is like the water consistency of our blood, will pool out at that time. And not all of it is able to come back into the veins as it goes back to the heart. So now the lymph takes that and brings it back, and will bring it from the feet, wherever it's coming out of, it will bring that excess fluid back into our ducts that are back here, and it puts it back into our veins and into our heart and brings it back. That's why we can keep the volume of our blood consistent, which is really important. So this is just, again, just going a little bit more deeper. We don't need to know all that stuff. It's just the junctions are a little bigger, so it allows for the plasma out of the blood to pool out, and then the lymph will take it. The lymph, on the other hand, the lymphatic system does not have a heart. It does not have something to pump it. So the way it does it is, as we're going to see down the road, with different muscles and things like that. Yes?
Is the lymph system strictly on the right side of the?
No, it's both sides.
Okay, so it's just showing.
Yeah, this is just showing, like, this is just
Okay.
a little
Okay,
piece,
I
because
just-
we have these capillaries everywhere in our body.
Okay.
Every artery becomes a vein, and it just comes together, and that's how we can distribute all the nutrients to our different cells and what they need and hormones and all that stuff. So, as I said, the lymph is made out of the proteins, the waters, impurities, any waste products that it picks up from the cells around there. So the actual lymph vessel, as we can see right here, is actually made really uniquely. As we said, it doesn't have its own pump, so it has to be, God made very creative and figure out a way to get even the lymph that's down in our feet to get moved up into our ducts, which is up here, close to our heart. So it does it by these overlapping cells. So what happens is that as that lymph comes out and pulls out, the go in, and as the pressure builds up and there's more fluid inside that little cavity, it will shut it and won't allow it to come back out. And then it has little chambers as it goes up, and it has a little valve that will do the same thing. We'll push it, push it, push it until it gets up to our duct, which is up here. I'll go about that in a little bit. I was going to say there's some muscle inside the walls of the vessels that really helps also propel it to go upwards. Then next here is the lymph node, and that's, most people know about lymph nodes because a lot of times doctors will come and palpate them to see if they're swollen, because if there's an infection going on in your body, that's where all the T cells and B cells are at, and that's what helps basically fight the infection. Because as we bring back the lymph, and as it's picking up all these impurities, and if there's anywhere where there's an infection in our body, it brings it into those lymph nodes and makes sure it clears it out before it goes back into the blood. Because we don't want bacteria and viruses in our blood. That is really bad for our health, so our body does a good job to clear those things out before it gets back into our blood system. Again, just here, so it's pretty interesting to see, you know, how if you ask if it's only the left or the right, it's from the whole body, right? But the ducts that are up here, and they're right underneath our clavicles, right in here, we have our subclavian veins that are there. And the reason why, you think, well, why does, you know, why from all the places it comes all the way up here to pull back into the bloodstream? Well, it's because the veins have a lower pressure. The arteries have really high pressure, so it's really hard to bring more fluid in. So it has to go to where there's less pressure, and up in these areas there's less pressure in the vessel, so it allows for that fluid to go back into the blood system. So on our left side, actually, our left duct does more than our right duct. They haven't figured out why exactly that happens. Typically, everything is pretty symmetrical in our bodies, but for whatever reason, our lymphatic system doesn't work the same. So our right duct, you'll see, will bring the lymph from our hands. It will bring it from our thoracic area here, in our head area and neck. And then the left side actually will bring all the lymph from our pelvis, from our legs, from the whole left side, and then bring it there. The reason why they think it could be, it's because it's farther away on this left side. The vessel's farther away from the heart, so it could have more time to bring all that fluid in, and maybe that's why, but no one really has a definitive answer to why that is separated in that way. So going into more of that transport portion of the lymphatic system and how fats getting transported and hormones and all that. So this is basically a cut of the intestinal wall. So with our gut area, we also have a different type of lymphatic system, and they're called lacteals. These little things are called lacteals, not just lymphatic vessels. And these are there to bring and grab those fats and grab hormones and anything that's in the intestinal wall. So when we eat, we have our intestines like a tunnel, right? And this is the wall of it, and it has little cells all across, and these cells allow for different particles to come through, like fats and vitamins and glucose and things like that, and then it goes out here where it gets taken. The things that can fit through the blood vessels will go through and go into the blood vessels, like glucose is a smaller molecule, so it will allow it to go through. But as we said, fats are pretty big, and they get packaged in these big little globs of fat that are called chylomicrons. And the only way that can go back into the bloodstream and go where it needs to the liver, different areas, it does it through going into the lacteals, and then they'll just go around, get back into the ducts, and then they'll go into the blood system, and then the blood can distribute to the places where it needs to go. So, pretty smart, right? Pretty smart way that we're built, right? You wouldn't think that there's so many intricacies going on in our bodies every single moment. So the way that lymph moves is three ways. So smooth muscle is basically muscle, like our intestinal wall has smooth muscle. As we said, inside the lymph vessels, there are little smooth muscles. Those are muscles that we cannot contract on our own. It happens involuntary. It happens on its own. Our body does that. So we can't control those muscles. But what we can control is the skeletal muscles. So skeletal muscles are any big muscles, like the muscles that we use to move our hands, our legs, anything that we can control. Say, I'll move your leg, that is a skeletal muscle. And that will also help push and help move that lymph to go up into the ducts. And then gravity helps obviously too, especially if you have had a long day, you swollen leg, you put them up, right? And it helps with the swelling. So gravity can help somewhat as well. So these are some things that happen when we don't have a proper lymphatic flow. If you know anyone that may have had, for whatever reason, removed some lymph nodes and some lymph vessels, they might have talked to you about how they get swollen and they have to really work hard to move the lymph because now they don't have the proper function in that area. So we'll see a lot of swelling a lot of times when we don't have proper function with our lymphatic system. We can, have brain fog, as you're going to see, because we have the lymphatic system in our brain too. We can be more bloated. Our skin probably is not going to look good because you're going to have all these impurities just stagnating and staying inside our body, not getting cleared and cleaned out. We can probably be more prone to getting sick and having colds, being tired. All those things that we do not want to have, right? Because we need energy to do all the great things that we want to do throughout our life. So now how do we move this lymph, right? What do we need to do? I'm putting this up here right now because a lot of the different things that I'm going to talk in modalities of how we help the lymphatic system is through this thing called hormesis. Hormesis is basically a stress that we put on our body, but it actually has a positive effect. It makes our cells stronger. So hormesis happens in a lot of things that we do, like exercise. Exercise, we actually are breaking down our cell muscles and we're rebuilding them into stronger ones. That's why people that start working out, they start getting bigger muscles because they're making bigger, stronger cells. And even though basically they're destroying their old cells and they're killing off when you're working out, but you're making a stronger cell in the end. So that can happen with different activities that I'm going to show you here. So hormesis actually is a good thing. We want to do that. Even though it's a stressor to our body, it's a positive result that we get in the end. So as we said, exercise is a hormesis. So exercise, just because we said, right, what helps it move lymph? Our skeletal muscle. So if we're not moving our muscles, then we're not allowing for the lymph to move properly. So what you guys do is awesome because you do all these different activities, from walking to drumming to kayaking and all these great things. So it is really, really good to move and start moving those skeletal muscles so that we can move the lymph. And also when you're starting to sweat, that will also pull out more toxins and will lessen the load on the lymphatic system. Vibration plates. So for the people that been to the office, know the vibration plate. It is quite the startle when you first come onto it. But it really, so if we're saying that exercise is, moving that, the skeletal muscles, the vibration plate does that like times 10. Because when you're on it, you'll feel that, it will contract and relax your muscles so fast per second. It can be depending on how many hertz the vibration is. It can, contract and relax your muscles 30 to 50 times per second. It keeps on working. That's why a lot of...
I was just going to ask, how do you compare it to a trampoline?
Oh, I'm going to go on trampoline.
I know you're going there. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to go on
Okay.
trampoline. I do love it. And so you're going to see different things that I'm putting up here. It doesn't mean you have to do everything, right? You're going to pick a few of those things that are easy for you to do, that you can incorporate easily in your day, and then, just do those. You don't have to do all of them.
How often? I have my own.
The vibration plate, we can even do it on a daily basis.
Well, it's like a jet engine. Mine's like 70, 80 pounds.
It's pretty, so it depends on, like, I know there's some that's for the home, and I know some of my patients have bought those. The ones that we have, at least in the office, are, they're like pretty big and they're heavy. They are
Yeah,
heavy
they're
for
heavy.
sure.
It's about the size of, like, you remember the aerobics?
Aerobics,
Like you remember those?
Yeah, it's kinda like
It's
that.
about mine's
Yeah.
about the size of,
The
it's
ones
like a
that-
step aerobic, you know, where you have.
The ones that are more like, but it really like.
We do get excited about this.
She's like,
Not as good.
I don't have the stand-up thing to hold, it's just,
Yes.
and I usually do my workout on it. I
So, I mean,
have dumbbells.
You can stand on it?
I'm talking more on the lymphatic flow and how it helps that obviously, but vibration plates have a huge array of benefits. I mean, they started using that in the beginning with astronauts, and they saw that if they worked out on the vibration plate, they could hold their bone mass and their muscle mass for longer periods of time in outer space, because you know, without gravity, then you start withering away basically. So it helped them stay longer in space. So that's how they figured out that it helps for people that have osteopenia or osteoporosis. It's great. It helps with, you know, the lymphatic flow, obviously. It helps with muscle, because anything you do, like any activity, like just plain squats, right? You can do them, you know, here, and you get, you know, so many calories that you burn. If you do them on there, ooh, it is 10 times more, because everything's contracting, relaxing, and it keeps on doing that.
It makes you
nonstop.
engage your muscles.
Oh yes, that's why a lot of big, you know, athletes, if they get into injuries, they'll do their workouts on the vibration plate just to make sure that they don't lose their muscle mass and they don't get it behind. So it's really a great thing to use in balance. It helps with balance and a lot of different things, but specifically lymph drainage is great. Oh, were you taking a picture? Sorry. So rebounding, trampoline. So this is something, and I've dedicated a few slides on this because I love it so much. It's been probably maybe a year and a half that I got into rebounding, and rebounding is really, really good for it is fun, exactly, and it's something new, and it's something that we don't really do. So as kids, we always jumping around, skipping around, moving, going up and down, but as adults, we don't really do that motion, you know, the up and down motion. So whenever we rebound, actually, when you're up in that, you know, top part of the jump, everything decompresses. Once you come down into the, you know, lowest part of your jump, now we have 2 to 3 times of that gravity. So everything gets squeezed down. So that, you know, opening and squeezing part, that really helps engage and move the lymphatic, the lymph in your lymphatic system. So it's, again, this is a hormesis, again. It's a stressor for the body, but it actually results in good positive outcomes. So it makes our cells stronger. So this is, and as I said, it's fun to do, it's easy to do. You don't need to, you know, take too much time on doing this. I mean, there's so many benefits of it. It's less, especially if you're, you know, if you have joint issues and things like that, and you have to be careful with the workouts you do, you can use this because it's a lot more gentle to your joints. It also, you know, helps with digestion. It helps with balance. It's really, really fun too, and something new that you can incorporate. And nowadays, the rebounders even have like handles. So if you're afraid that you're gonna fall, you don't have the best balance in the beginning, you can always start with just doing that, and it's light. You don't even have to do anything crazy. Just a light bounce on it will help.
I don't know who doesn't like jumping up and down and stuff. Those little trampolines that the people put in the houses.
Yes, that's the ones that I'm talking about,
That's
not the
the
big ones.
rebound.
Yeah, I'm talking about the individual ones. And if you wanna, we can go down the route of, you know, what's the best rebounder, because I did buy and return a few of them. I have to say, I didn't know how involved rebounding was. So initially, when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna spend too much. I'm just gonna get something from Amazon. So I got like the cheapest one out, and it was like $50. And I was like, okay. I was using it. I didn't know the difference. And then I go on a rebounder that my friend had that was more expensive. And I was like, what in the world? This is the worst rebounder that I've ever bought. It was like, you barely had any bounce on it. It was horrible. I didn't even realize looking, because I didn't realize it was such a, you know, difference from rebounder to rebounder, and you do want to spend a little bit more to get a better one. Right now, the one that I ended up buying was,
I have leaps and bounds.
Leaps and Bounds, yes, that's the one, because that one
With the
actually,
handle.
I don't have the handle, but
I
that's
got it, I got it.
that's the one I got, because I tried a few of them. I even tried the one that my friend had, which in the end I returned it, because this one was better. There's some that are really, really expensive, like the Cellar Sizer, and there's another one that's pretty expensive, but they're like in the 600, 500 range. This one is more, it's still good quality, but it's more affordable, and I think you can get them in around 160, 180, depending on
Yeah.
what the
But it's
discounts
worth it,
are.
It's worth it.
But it also has lifetime guarantee warranty, so if anything happens to the bands, and it has the little stretchy like bands, it doesn't have the springs. The springs, I did get one with spring, but it's just so noisy, and it's just, you know, especially if you're trying to, you know, work out, the last thing you wanna listen is to ee all the time. I returned that one too, so that's what I put it with, and it's just so fun, and just 10 minutes a day can make a really big difference, and you don't have to do all those 10 minutes at once. You can spread them throughout the day as you like. You do 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. So there's really no excuse on getting on the rebounder, and it's very easy. I do full workouts now on there, where you know I'm jumping and doing all these crazy things on it. You can do these great abs on there that get your abs real well. But YouTube has a bunch of videos now on beginner rebounding, advanced rebounding. So there's a lot of information now about rebounding, and it's just fun. It's fun to do, and it moves that.
Is that like a little trampoline?
Yes, it's like
Okay.
it's kind of
I
like
know.
this.
I
Maybe
didn't
a
know
little
what we were
smaller.
talking about.
You can buy bigger one. I mean, you can buy
Okay.
ones that are as big as this, and then you can buy a little smaller, depending on what your space
Yeah.
is. And then you can have candles too, so it will help you in case you feel afraid that you're gonna fall off or
That's
anything.
what
You
I
can hold
always
on to
think
that. And again, in the beginning, just a light bounce, just that light bounce is great. And it's great again for osteoporosis, osteopenia. It's really great because you get that
These shoes.
strengthening.
You know what these are, right?
No,
You
I do
don't?
not.
Chemical, they stimulate the
Oh,
nerve endings in your feet.
The nerve
But you
endings.
can't wear them too much.
Like for
I found out the
neuropathy.
hard way. They're not for really walking, but like this is perfect right here.
Kind of like an acupressure kind of thing.
Yeah,
You
I
see
wore them
that?
too much. I took them on by mistake, forgot my tennis shoes on vacation, wore these.
And it did.
I think I did a lot of damage actually.
No, I haven't seen those actually. Did you have a question?
I did. For those of us who do not own a rebounder but hope to,
Yes.
until then, what are the health benefits of the exercise ball or the therapy ball, bouncing seated on it?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely probably pretty similar, but obviously you don't. I mean,
You
it's
don't-
just
you
a
don't get it
different
from toe
way.
in.
You don't get like I guess the full body, I would say. But
Uh-huh.
even that, I mean, that bouncing there, that's that's great too. I mean, it probably has similar effects as a rebounder would have. So I'm
And
pretty
plus
sure.
you can do so much with it. I mean, like I just use it watching TV. I'll put my feet on the ball.
So
But you would want to have like a bouncing
Yeah, I do this.
Yeah, if you can get it to bounce a little bit. Judy, you had a question?
I was just gonna ask if jumping jacks and jump
Jumping
rope
rope.
is similar, or is that
So
not the
it
same as
definitely
the
will do a
box?
similar thing, but the thing is that we have then the floor is
Hard.
hard, so it stops that jump, it stops our impact, and it can be for some people a little bit too much for their joints.
Yeah.
And how long can you really do the jumping jacks and keep on doing that? Where on the rebounder, you can be on there for 30 minutes jumping. I mean, so it's it's just more softer and gentle for the joints basically. But
Gotcha.
you can definitely be
But
jumping.
is it helpful to the
Yeah,
back
but
system?
jumping just alone, it can be helpful. But as I said, as we get older, we don't really do that. As children, we do that a lot, but we don't really do that much when we're older around jumping around.
Unless your kids have a trampoline.
Yes.
And the equivalent of the rebounder, 5 minutes of rebounder equals to 25 minutes of
Of
running.
running, yes.
Oh,
Yes, it's a
really?
lot, more effective.
so let's get
In water, if you're bouncing in water, what is that?
I'm assuming, I don't know exactly the specifics less pressure on your joints and just doing that. So it's probably pretty similar. But just being in the water, I guess it's a lot slower. Obviously, you're not getting, you know, that faster rebounding effect.
But you're hitting the bottom of the water.
But you're, yeah, I mean, it's probably, I mean, I'm sure it's better for your joints. I know, like, just generally water, you know, swimming and, you know, just doing water aerobics can be really gentle for your, you know, body. It's a great way to exercise 100%. And it will help move those skeletal muscles. You know, there's other ways, obviously. Just, you know, rebounding something, I guess, that's not really talked about, and I just, you know, I didn't know about it myself, and then when I found out about it, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. Yeah.
The closest, I understand, the closest to the rebounding, if you don't have the rebounder, is to not jump, but
To go
rather
like
just
this,
go
yeah.
like this. Literally like this.
That's what,
How long can you do it? Don't jump.
yeah.
But not jumping.
I have a little, I'm gonna put it in our circuit workout. We did circuit this winter.
Would an inversion table help with the lymph?
Well, that's gravity there. It can help somewhat, but moving your muscles, I would say it's better. Yes. Yeah, it's just, it will help you just with swelling and things like that. I mean, inversion tables are great for decompressing the spine too. We talk about that a lot with chiropractic and whatnot. But if you're looking to like specifically lymphatic, I would do something that's more engaging and something that's moving your muscles than just, you know, laying. I mean, you can do that. As you said, gravity is one of them, so you can lay and put your legs up. But, you know.
I spin on mine, probably stretches while I'm upside down.
She has one of those too.
But, you know, inversion tables are
Inversion table?
Everything that.
Yeah, she has one of
I
those.
can't bring an inversion table though.
Very adventurous.
You got a lot of things, Sandy.
I do, and I have a little townhouse.
Sandy's
My office is like I work, I have a day bed, then I have an inversion table, I have my vibration plates, I have all my workout dumbbells. It's a small little room, but,
And as we said, like, if you have a vibration
and my
plate,
yoga mat, I do
it
my
might
yoga.
not be for you to get a rebounder, because you already have a
Right.
vibration plate, so you have
Yeah.
something that's doing.
She has the rebound.
So, it doesn't need to be like all of these things, as we said. Compression boots, that's something else that we have in the office. I know some of you have used it already.
Those are nice.
Oh,
In the
wonderful.
office, and that again is another way of passively moving the lift. So you don't have, you just lay there, you just sit down, relax, and basically these are boots that go through onto your legs, and they have different chambers, and they just pump up with air, and they start squeezing, just like a blood pressure cuff. Just squeeze the leg in different areas, and we'll start moving the lymph, and depending on what kind of mode you put it on, it will do different, you know, variations of pumping, and inflating and deflating. So that motion will allow for the lymph to get squeezed and move up to our, you know, torso, into the rest of the body, to go into our duct. And it can, you know, again, all these different modalities have a lot of different, you know, benefits, not only for the lymphatic system, but just improving your general circulation. If you're, you know, working out, it helps with bringing the lactic acid out of the muscles. It can increase your flexibility, so it has other benefits as well. And I'll be giving you guys in the end a little gift with the compression boots, because I know, I mean, you can buy those at home too. I mean, maybe Sandy has them. I don't know. Sandy might have some of those. I don't know, but.
I wish. I've done them at like cryotherapy.
Yes,
they have,
so
and I've
those-
done them there.
And I mean,
Yeah,
that's another
W.
way of using them. And a lot of these things, honestly, in the end, it is whatever you can use like pretty often and put in your routine, and kind of like maybe at least like every 2-3 days. That's the best way that we can, you know, encourage the lymph. Do you have a Michelle?
Yeah, when we were talking about the lymph nodes earlier, we were talking about here, are lymph nodes throughout the body?
Lymph nodes are throughout our bodies. We have, the reason why a lot of doctors will feel here, because they're more closer to the surface of our skin, so we can feel them, because we have some that are, you know, superficial, and then we have some that are really deep, that we're not, you know, we're not touching, we can't feel them. But the ones here, and typically our lymph nodes, if they're not infected, they can be like 1, 2, 3 millimeters. They're super small. You can barely feel them. But when they do get infected, they can become 25 millimeters. And they can become pretty big until like that clears out. it's gonna stay pretty big, and it can take, several weeks to, de-inflame, clear, that area from infection. Yes, but we have them
So
everywhere.
doing these things will help push
Yes, so,
through the lymphatic, the system, through the vessels and everything, through
Yes.
the nose, and cleanse them out, so to speak.
that's why they're kind of like checkpoints. They're kind of like, we have the vessels where the lymph is in there, but then they go through checkpoints as they're going up. They'll have to go through one lymph node, because it has to be checked and cleared out to make sure there's no impurities or any bacteria or anything like that, because we do not want bacteria and things like that in our blood. That, if you have a blood infection, you're at the ER. They're cleaning out, they're doing transfusions and things like that. It's a whole big thing. It's a big, health hazard. Because a lot of times we think like, oh, if we cut ourselves and we get an infection, we see blood, we think it's going into our blood. It does not. That infection is not in our blood. It's in the tissue around there, but it's not actually in the blood, because the lymph will take and remove all the impurities and all the things there. And it deals with it through the lymphatic system.
When they talk about cancers, and when cancer is affecting the lymph nodes.
Yes, and that's why, that's a big thing why when a lot of times when we have, if someone has breast cancer, or remove those lymph nodes that are getting affected, because of the fact that that's where all the immune system is, right? Our T cells is what fights, and it will, fight and kill those areas, those bacteria or the cancer cells. And then the B cells are what makes our antibodies, basically. And it creates memory for our body, so if we get that infection again, if we get, something like that, it will be like, oh, I have the antibody for it, and then they go in and they know what to do, and they kill that, bacteria or virus off. So that's why the lymphatic system plays such a big role in detoxing our body, and also with the immune system. So that's why we have those lymph nodes. They just check and make sure that everything that goes back into our blood is clean.
But if removing them, they don't grow back, and the body reroutes it.
The what?
The body would reroute the.
If you get your lymph nodes removed.
So that's why it will try to whatever can get rerouted to other lymph ducts, and because there's so many vessels, they start very small and in the hands and all that, but then they become bigger and bigger, kind of like the blood, our circulatory system. It's very similar to that. So they start small, and they become bigger and bigger, and there's bigger vessels, and they come together, and then they become bigger, and then they end up into the duct area, as we said, which is back here. So if we do have those removed, that's why they'll have to work on more, lymphatic drainage, and a lot of people that do have those issues, they'll go for lymphatic massages, like a certain amount of time, time a month, to make sure that they're removing the lymph, because then you just get swollen.
Or they wear those compression
Yeah, so
sleeves
wear
all the way.
compression, socks, or, under to just keep, because it just, once we don't have those vessels, it makes it hard for our body. So it's hopefully we don't get to that point where those have to get removed, because they're now so affected, like, getting cancer or whatever, and they have to remove it.
Would compression boots be good for somebody who has neuropathy in their feet?
So,
So pain, not neuro. I don't think I.
Well, she had neuromas. What were they? You
Yeah,
had
but that's not neuro. I had neuromas. I just
oh,
had,
yeah,
I had pain in my.
so it depends. So if we have a neuroma now and we know that that's there, we don't want to keep on squeezing that area, because it's going to hurt, because it's basically a lot. It's like a tumor for the nerve, basically, and there's a lot of nerve cells that grew and made this tumor in the nerve. So now if you go and squeeze it, that's going to hurt a lot. And one of the tests that they do for that is squeeze your foot to see if you have pain from it, and then they say, okay, that's you got a Morton's neuroma is typically what
She
they
had
have.
them removed.
Yeah, I had.
And then that's what they'll do. And typically those are they're non-malignant. They're just, and they can get
Tissue
removed,
builds up around the
and
nose
they
and things.
take it out. But that's something you wouldn't want to
It
squeeze
just
onto.
So that wouldn't be
It
good
did
for.
If she has that, if she had it removed now,
Yeah,
that's
a long
fine.
time ago.
But if she, during the time she has that, yeah, because it's just gonna cause pain, it's not really gonna help that area, because there's, you know, a big cluster of cells, and now we're trying to squeeze that, and nerves are basically why we feel pain if we didn't have nerves. So now we're squeezing a bundle of what exactly makes us experience pain, and we're squeezing on it. It's not a good thing. Yeah, we don't want that.
Sounds like mammograms to me.
I just had mine done last couple weeks ago.
Mammograms, honestly, now they're like, at least depending on how you want to go about it. Obviously, you know, it takes some time until they switch up things in the medical community because they get, you know, they in their system. But now they're doing a lot of thermography.
Yeah, I don't do mammogram, I just did the one
And ultrasounds and other things because they've seen that also with the mammogram because of that smushing. Sometimes they actually can break those cells and cause it to, you know, become worse, they're saying. So there's different things that have been coming out. So there, it seems like there's been being a transition away from the old school mammograms and more ultrasounds and thermography and other ways of like checking that area.
Come on in. There's like up 8:30 in the morning, messages go, there you go. Well, thank you so much.
Do we have to look at or?
Yeah, Karen will give you
I'm sorry, I didn't want to miss this stuff because I'm looking for a chiropractor.
So, okay, other things that we can do for the lymphatic system. Contrast therapy, right? Contrast therapy is sauna and cold plunge. So that really squeezes those organs and everything because what happens, if we go into the sauna for, you know, 20, 30 minutes, we start everything expands, everything opens up. We start bringing blood closer to the surface of our skin. It really will help, you know, remove some toxins as well through the sweat. So it'll help remove the toxins through the sweat. And then with the cold, if you go right after into the cold,
She's standing up now.
I
You can
can't
sit
hear,
there.
I want to be close.
okay. So that's settled in. So with the cold then, once you go into that water, everything does the opposite. Everything shrinks, the blood gets pulled into the organs because it wants to, you know, make sure it keeps those areas warm. So in the cold plunge, you want to go more than about like 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes, but typically that's like the most you would do. And just in general, contrast therapy, not only with that, you know, expansion and contraction of those muscles and the vessels, it also will help with mood swings. So we've seen with focus because it releases a lot of dopamine, so you're a lot more focused. And actually, they show that the dopamine doesn't kind of like go up and crash. It's more throughout the day leveled. So you get that nice focus throughout the day. A lot of people that do the contrast therapy will tell us afterwards that they slept the best because your body has to expend a lot of energy while they're doing that. So from the shivering to the being in the heat, all that is expending a lot of energy for your body. So by the time the night comes, you're ready to sleep and you sleep like a baby. It's perfect for a good night's sleep. So people that have actually insomnia will use the contrast therapy. I mean, it helps with circulation, as we said, immunity. It also is a hormesis again because it makes our cells stronger. So
Cold shower?
cold shower can be great, yeah. So it's, you know, a different way that you can do it daily. If you wake up and you do that, or it wakes you up. And also you get that effect of the squeezing, so everything can move, the lymph can move, so it's really, really good. But you gotta, and it's kind of hard here in Florida because the water doesn't get that cold.
How do you get a cold water? Like, you have to have lots of ice or something to get a cold plunge? Where do you get the ice?
50-degree chiropractic and you can
So
have
there not only tonight, there's a lot of places that have opened up now that have contrast therapy where they do the cold plunge and the sauna.
I'm just saying, there's a place on Tampa Road.
Yeah, I don't want to pay for it because I'm a woman that's been teaching health nutrition, trained models, and I'm interested
Well,
in
you can buy your
chiropractic.
own one. You can have
So
it at
I
the
want
house
one
too.
in my home. Isn't there a big thing you buy and then
Yeah,
you
you
can
can
buy
buy
back
your
at
own
house and you can buy
Yeah, there's now, and I'm sure as the time goes by, they're gonna make them even more affordable for individuals to buy. I know people that have their own saunas at home. They
I have
have their
mine.
own cold plunges at home. So it's not something want, you can always, buy your own cold plunge and you can do it on a daily basis.
Oh,
I saw online someone had a big cooler
Oh, yeah.
and they
there's-
put ice in it.
Oh, that's a great
One
idea.
of those really big.
Just what we've seen with the ice, we've tried to do that a few times, and ice, especially if you're doing outside in Florida, it melts super fast, and then it doesn't stay cold for too long too.
You're
but I
only
understand-
saying like 3 or 4 minutes, is that what you're saying?
Yes, and then but once you go in, like everything starts to melt, and if you're on your own, that's okay. But if you have multiple people that want to try to cold plunge, by the time the last person goes in, it's not as cold. Like our cold plunge, we put it around like 44 degrees, 42 degrees. So even with the ice, it's a little hard to get it that low. It can be a little tricky.
Is
I
this
mean,
like
but
cryo when do you have the cryo where you get in and they freeze you down and?
That's a
like,
different, yeah, the
it's same thing?
cryotherapy, that's with the air. It's a little bit different in the way
Okay.
they do it, but it has similar effects. It helps with inflammation too. It's a great way to do that. I mean, either way, it's great.
And what do you have like a package or is it like a spa?
Oh, we'll
set?
talk about, so right now I'm just gonna go through
Yeah, I'm
like the
just
different
going around going over
advantages
them.
of using each thing, and then at the end we can talk about like what exactly I have at the office, and then we're gonna do some giveaways anyways, that some of these things are in there too, so we'll talk about that at the end.
Now, I missed who you are and what office are you?
Well, I'm with Ignite Chiropractic and Wellness,
Okay,
and I'm Dr. Gigi.
okay.
Awesome, so,
Dr. Gigi,
yeah.
just clarify for me, please.
yes.
Are you saying the two should be used together?
You can use them separately too if you wanted to, but if you want the full advantage of getting that squeezing effect, like everything expands and then it squeezes down, which will really help the lymphatic system, this is the best way, because as we said, with the sauna, everything comes to the surface, your blood comes to the surface, expansion of the blood vessels, and then when we go into the cold plunge, it's the opposite. So everything squeezes down and it pushes and it helps the lymphatic system.
Is there like, should you do one before the other?
We
Like,
typically
should you
start
start
with the heat, the sauna, and then the cold plunge.
Yeah, so you go in the hot sauna,
Mhm.
because I have a hot sauna outside, infrared, and, I'm just, this is breathtaking. piece. Anyway,
that too, yeah.
you go in a hot sauna and then you go into the cold plunge, is that the idea? Right after,
Mhm.
okay.
And they did this a lot. This is the most of the research has come from the, Norway and just those, northern part of Europe. They use these a lot. Like every place has, saunas, and then they just, because it's so cold there, they just go outside and they dig these holes where they just plunge in, which is like minus. It's so cold there. So.
Or if you go to Michigan, you can just jump in the hot tub
Yes.
and then roll in the snow. Jump in the hot tub.
Yeah, because you have snow 6 months.
There's different ways of doing this for sure. But anything where we can get cold and heat and get those two extremes, right?
We can get
really
sluggish.
help with sluggish, yes, Lynn.
Hey, what if you have an ice cold pool when it gets like 30, when it gets 30 around here and you just go out and you get the sauna and jump in the ice cold, which I never wanted to do, but
But it will be very helpful for sure.
yeah, so when the pool's like 40, does that work?
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, at the office, we put our cold plunges set around 44 degrees, 42 degrees, depending on where the
Yeah, say
hot water is.
44, okay.
So anything around there, anything below 48, basically degrees, has shown to have these benefits and has a,
Does it do the same, 48?
yes,
Okay.
anything below 40 is where most research is shown to
Okay.
have the benefits.
Okay, and I know that you can take a cold shower. Is that cold enough? Our
That's what
showers
we're
here?
talking, it depends. Here in Florida, it might not get that cold.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so, dry brushing. You all have a dry brush because Stephanie was so nice and kind to put that in your kit there in your little bag. So, this is another thing you can do on a daily basis. It's very inexpensive, especially now that you already have your brush. I mean, I was talking to someone before and I was saying, you can literally do it with anything, even with a comb. You don't need anything too fancy to do this because what you're getting is a superficial lymphatic vessel. You can't, as we said, you can't go into the deep ones, but with the dry brushing, you can get the superficial ones. And you don't want to be very firm with it. You want to be light because if you're firm, you're collapsing those vessels and you're not really doing the proper job. And then another thing that most people think is when you're doing dry varnishing, you start from the, you know, the farthest away and then you bring it up. But actually you start from the closest. So you first start with opening up the ducts, then coming through here to these areas, and then you kind of like pushing it.
So you
from
brush
close
up to,
Yes.
yeah.
So you start with the closest and you keep on brushing it. And I'm gonna put here, so I really like what she does. It's called, and it's a little covered here, but doc.talks.detox. She has on Instagram a bunch of information on dry brushing. She's the queen of dry brushing and does different detoxing things. And she does a really good job with explaining and showing on how to do dry brushing. So I'm gonna have her here and you can see how she does a full body scrub. So she starts first with the underneath the clavicle because that's where the ducts are. And you see how she starts with the closest parts and kind of moves it up and helps it move it up. Because we first have to unclog the places that are closest so that this can flow into that area. And then with the abdomen, how you would like to do that, how you start, everything's closer, and then ending with the farthest areas.
Yeah, it's hard, you can get a long handle one, right?
Mm-hmm. There's
To
so
the
many,
back.
you can get long handles, you get ones that are specifically for the face, but honestly, just any dry brush will do the job. Just making sure that it's.
What
not
about a
too-
loofah? Loofah?
Loofah, yeah.
Loofah,
Okay,
on the
so-
end of I have one on the end and I can get behind.
That can help too in doing that.
I tell women to just go to the store and buy those dollar hand mitts that you have, and I dry brush all over my body.
We just want to be light with the touch. That's the biggest thing. A lot of
They're
people
not
think
very
they-
strong, are they, these little hand? Are they strong enough? Like,
Small strokes are going to be your friend.
You're smaller strokes and you want to be light. You don't want to be very firm because then you collapse the vessels and you're not moving the lymph actually. So it's very light, very light. You had a question?
How many times a week do you do that?
So I would say you want to, if it's not like kind of like on a daily basis, if every 2-3 days you want to do that. You can pair it with like, oh, maybe before you take a shower or after you take a shower. You want to, you have to be dry too because it's different. You want to be dry. So basically, it's better before you take the shower to do it, and you can just do that before you get in. You're already naked. You can get your whole body, get everything moving, and then you go into the shower. And it also helps, exfoliate some of those dead skin cells, and then you can clear that out and move on.
I'd like to know more about, after injury, like car accident, I had a car accident, and, I did this, and I just don't mention. I was trying to practice the movements, not touching my skin. I had a session with chiropractic where she doesn't touch you, and she moves all around, and I feel everything. It is weird, it's a practice. I don't
It's
know
called
what it is.
networking. Yeah, we don't practice that at the office. I don't know much about it, but I know it's called network. Like it's a technique that they invented.
is that the best treatment, BEST?
Huh?
Are you talking about the best treatment, BEST technique?
It's chiropractic, but
Yes.
it's massage. It's massage.
Yes, the touch point,
But it's not, they
Not-
don't touch my skin.
Like
not the
in-
forced manipulation,
Yeah, I
not
guess
forced.
something like that. I mean, and there's so many techniques now in chiropractic, and you can get specialized in any of those. Obviously, that wasn't something that we got taught at school, and that's not something that we use
Right,
at
it's
the
a whole
office.
different school.
But it's a different, yes, a different. But I know that that exists for sure, and that can be helpful, I guess, for sure. And I'll talk about chiropractic alone, how it can help with the lymphatic flow. So.
What's the best way to do the brush itself clean? Because if you brush it
Yeah.
dry, you get cells and so forth, so what's the best way to keep it clean? So take care of it.
So, I mean, any with soap probably, but you just have to make sure by the next time you're gonna use it, it's dry. And have it somewhere, maybe you leave it outside in the sun, make sure it's dry and it doesn't, start making any fungus or any bacteria growing on it. So, I mean, any kind of cleaning product that you would use to clean anything, like I would say some soap. Yeah, you could put it in the soap for a little bit and just make sure it suds in there, and then, you know, wash it off pretty well and put it out in the sun, blow dry. It's something that it
Are you
needs to
saying
get dry.
brushing now with soap? I can't hear.
No, she's asking about brushing, how to keep it clean, how to keep the brush itself
Oh.
clean.
Okay.
Before moving off dry brushing, I just wanted you to know that in addition to what's in your bag, I bought extra dry brushes because I thought they made nice stocking stuffers and gifts and encouragement that we can share with other friends. So we can hopefully learn today and pass it on. So in addition to what we have in the boutique, I have more back in our storage room. So if that's something you're interested in, see Mary Kay.
Nice, yes, so you definitely do, they fit really nice in stocking. So, any questions other for dry brushing? No, okay. Deep breathing. We talked,
Deep breathing, that's what I don't do.
some of I think Barb was the only one actually that came to, we had a pelvic floor specialist that came this week actually to the office and talking about how important deep breathing is and just breathing and how we forget how to breathe, breathe properly. We typically breathe from our chest instead of from our stomach, bringing it down, and our diaphragm pushing down. So making sure, and a good way to actually practice this, I like to do it laying down, because then I can really focus on breathing in, expanding the abdomen, and then when you breathe out, you push up the diaphragm, push the air out of your body. So when we're talking about deep breathing, that's what we mean, but especially for the lymphatic vessels that are in our abdomen area, in our pelvic area, in our thoracic area, that's the best way that we can move that lymph is through that deep breathing, because it will allow for that inhalation and exhalation, will allow for our limbs to drain and go back into the ducts. So deep breathing is going to be really, really good. Wim Hof, if you want to look him up, he's the Iceman. He does a lot of deep breathing techniques to how to get before you get into a cold plunge and all these things. But he's big on the breathing and teaching proper breathing. So that could be
Who is that?
Wim Hof, WHIMHOFF. Wim Hof.
H-O-F-F. So you Google him.
YouTube him, yeah.
W-H-I-N. H-E-N. Is he local?
W-H-I-M.
On YouTube.
I-N.
Yes, I-M. And he is great with just deep breathing in general. He has a lot of different techniques on how to deep breathe and how to properly breathe, because that can affect also our pelvic floor, which we learned this week. That would be a great person, I think, for you, Stephanie, to connect with Dr. Andrew. She's a pelvic floor specialist, and she, does all types of things and working. She's a physical therapist, and she works on all, pelvic floor, postpartum, prenatal, older ladies, everybody that has issues, leakage, anything like that. So she's really, really, really good. She has a lot of good knowledge on that.
How can I connect with her?
Who are you
I
talking
can,
about?
when I
saying?
talk to her and all that, I can let her
Dr.
know and,
Andrea.
see if you guys, I can get you guys connected.
Wonderful.
Dr.
She
Andrea?
has a group called the Hope Doctors, and it's a bunch of,
Dr. Andrea?
Andrea, yes.
How do you spell that? N-D-A-R?
Andrea. Drea, just as you hear it, Andrea.
And then what? Is she got,
I'm just saying there's another person, because I know Stephanie loves to connect with people
Might have
around
a
the community.
Oh, okay.
I think she would be great for, to, maybe do a talk for you guys at some point. She has a lot of good knowledge.
is she a chiropractor or?
No, she's a physical therapist.
Okay. I'm looking for one of those.
Yeah,
Is
she's,
that her first name?
yeah, Andrea Yarborough. But she's part of the Hope Doctors. If you look up Hope Doctors in Dunedin, that's her practice.
Hope Doctor?
Yeah, in Dunedin. They're located in Dunedin.
Oh, Dunedin.
So, as a chiropractor, we're going to talk about adjustments too and how they help. So, if you remember at the beginning, we talked about skeletal muscles, which mainly all the things that we've been talking about, it is mainly engaging the skeletal muscle, which is a voluntary muscle that we can move with just thinking about it. But we also have the smooth muscle we can't think about. And the way that gets innervated and moved is by our nervous system, the autonomic part of our nervous that is the sympathetic and parasympathetic parts that, allow for our bodies, when we're stressed out, it will make our hearts pump more, and it will start, making our pupils constrict so we can see everything and make sure that, we're alert and are aware. And then with the parasympathetic part, that's when our blood pressure lowers, our, heart rate lowers, we can now heal and digest. So we need that tonality in our nervous system to be proper so that it can switch from one to the other. Because neither one is bad or good, right? Because we kind of think about sympathetic being always bad. It's not a bad thing, because we do need to, sometimes run from that tiger. We need to have that part of our nervous system to work properly. It's having that balance. And what that helps is with the adjustments, we know that one of the things that they have researched extensively is how it helps the body reset and the autonomic nervous system to balance out, so that you can have that parasympathetic and sympathetic switch on and off as you need throughout the day. Because if that is not working well, then those little smooth muscles that are in our vessels are not going to work properly. So now we can again get stagnant lift. So that's why with the adjustments, it's kind of like a byproduct of getting adjusted. Now your nervous system is going to work better, and then we know that smooth muscle inside the vessels are going to work better too.
Does it help with PTSD?
What?
Yeah, adjustments and
Yes,
anxiety.
Yes,
that's why
there's
I'm
a
here.
lot of veterans that will seek out chiropractic care because of that, because it does help relax the nervous system.
That's what I'm
The
here for.
contrast therapy also is really good for PTSD. They've seen now it really helps with mood swings and things like that. So, water. Our lymph is made mainly out of water, because we said that out of our blood, that plasma that seeps through and goes into the tissues is mainly water, basically. And if we don't have enough water and we're not replenishing our body, then we can make that really sluggish for our lymph to move. It's the same concept as when you go to get blood or do anything like blood work related. They have you drink a lot of water, because you want to make sure your veins are not collapsed and that they can get a good pressure there and get the blood that they need. When we're dehydrated, it will collapse those vessels and won't allow for the lymph to move properly.
So that's what I have a problem with. I don't drink a lot, but then when I go to the doctor, they say I'm dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
So I do the hydration stuff.
Mm-hmm.
From Melaleuca, I get good stuff from them. But I'm having problems with the dehydration.
Yeah, and sometimes it could be because we're lacking a lot of those minerals in our water sometimes nowadays, which the electrolytes, which are really important because it's not only just drinking water, you want to drink sterile water. You want also those electrolytes so that you can also hydrate.
What kind of water do you want to drink?
Anything that has those electrolytes, you can always add those. You can buy now electrolytes that are
I add it to my
Gatorade or anything
clean
like that.
water, so that's what I do.
So, because it's really hard. I mean, you would have to test your water to see what it has. I mean,
I get it from the water mill, whatever you call that place, and I love their water.
Yeah, you would have to test it. Each water can be really, really different depending where it comes. Sometimes people have well water in their house, and others, it just depends. Obviously, most of us are not getting that nice spring water that's gone through all the rocks and gotten all the minerals and everything. So typically, most of the water that we drink does not have much in it. So you can always, buy electrolytes, and you can, put them in your water. You can put a little dash of salt. Some people just do a little dash of salt in there, which can help to, I guess someone had a question back there, I think. What's that?
We were talking about two sides, the lymph nodes, and then we were also talking about the sympathetic. And
Oh, that's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic tone of the nervous system. Yeah, that's the part that we can't control, our autonomic nervous system.
But I mean, the two sides, is that like the two sides of the brain?
No, it has nothing to do with two sides of the body.
Okay.
It just, I meant that our nervous system has two basically parts of it. It has the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, and these things do basically opposite things. When our sympathetic is engaged, then, for example, our heart is gonna race, it's gonna pump more blood to our, our body, our respiratory system is gonna be, you're gonna be breathing heavier and things like that. Where the parasympathetic, if that's engaged, is when you're relaxed, when your, blood pressure will go probably lower, when you're calmer. So that's what I'm saying. So that switches on and off all the time throughout our day, right? We need
stressors.
Yes, exactly, depending what we need to do. Like if we're running, if we're exercising, we need more of that sympathetic because we're doing things.
Okay.
When we're relaxing, we're laying down, we want the parasympathetic to kick in. But a lot of times what happens nowadays, we're so sympathetic driven, and a lot of stress from emails and different things and mental stresses will keep our body into that sympathetic mode even when it should be in the parasympathetic mode. So that's what I was talking about with the adjustments. They have shown with research it helps to balance out that tonality so that we can go back and forth from parasympathetic to sympathetic as we need throughout the day.
So the water helps you do that plus your deep breathing, right?
Well, yes, in general, the water helps with just the lymph and just making sure that we have the proper volume in our lymph vessels so that it can push it up into our ducts.
Okay.
And then just a general rule, just drink half of your weight in ounces. Starting from there is pretty good. It's not the best way to do it because obviously if you're very sweaty, if it's a hot day, you probably need more than that. And depending on each person, they might need more. But at least if you start with drinking half your weight in ounces, that's a good way to gauge it. Make sure you're drinking enough.
How does water retention affect this?
How does water retention?
Water
So
retention.
then that means then we have a kidney issue, or that means we have a cardiovascular issue. So then there's other things to address and to help with, whether it is decreasing maybe sugar in your diet, doing some type of protocol to detox and help your kidneys to work better. So retention typically happens, and that's why people that have heart issues, they give them diuretics, right? So that they can flush out. So it's typically if you have any type of cardiovascular or kidney issue, you'll have the retention. And that means that you have to dig deeper and see what's causing that and remove what's causing that. Sleep. We talked about sleep last time, a lot of it about it.
Yeah,
but
I
it
had
actually
plenty
helps
last night.
us detoxify, right?
Oh.
Especially deep sleep. That's where that lymphatic system kicks in. So we talked about the lymphatic. So our brain has the lymphatic, which is made up of glia cells that are in our brain. And what happens is they've seen during deep sleep, those glia cells will shrink in our brain, and it will allow for the fluid that is in our brain to go in and wash away all the byproducts of all the nerves and all the waste products that have happened throughout the day and clear those out. And that's really important because those beta amyloids that get trapped in the brain and build up, that's what they're seeing with people. There's a large accumulation of those with people that have Alzheimer's or dementia or things like that. So
that REM sleep is so important.
deep sleep.
Yeah, so REM is different.
REM
gotta do
sleep.
7
So
hours.
I'm not gonna go down that road because that's a 1 hour.
Takes 7 hours
That's a 1 hour
to get
talk.
the right amount of REM.
Yes.
7
so
hours.
You want 7 hours because our bodies. So there's a whole thing. Sleep is very intricate, and we need all parts of sleep. But the deep sleep is not the REM sleep. Those are two different parts of the sleep.
I'm aging elderly, but I'm really aging, and I feel like my sleep is all messed up,
Yeah, but that's why I do a whole talk on that. There's beautiful books on that you can look up. I mean, Matthew Walker is one of the leading scientists. If you look him up, he has a bunch of YouTube videos now that talk about
Who is
sleep.
this again?
Matthew Walker.
Matthew
Matthew Walker.
and just Waters?
Walker.
Walker.
Like Walker.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
okay,
his
yeah.
last name. And he has a book too on that. So, it's a good, place to start if you want to learn more. But as I said, we did a whole talk. I don't know if you were here last time.
It's viewable on our spaministry.com website.
Oh, you recorded it.
Yeah.
What is it? You got it?
So that has the whole talk on there, and it goes through the stages of sleep and how to help with sleeping and everything. So but really important because that's the way that we detoxify our brain. I mean, we use our brain for everything. We're gonna go now into some foods, and this is gonna be pretty much the last part. I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but if you wanna take, also, if whoever wants these at the end, I'll have my phone on here, and we're gonna do a few things in the end here, and I can send you the slides too. So if you want me to send you the slides at the end, you can text me and I can send the slides. But something, just in general, anything that is helpful for anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, that promotes detoxification in the body is going to be good in general for your health, but also for the lymph, and to, you know, take that pressure off the lymphatic system, because if we're detoxifying, we're eating better and cleaner, there's less workload on the lymphatic system. So cranberry, for example, it's a great fat emulsifier. As we talked, our lymphatic system also is carrying the fat. So we want to make sure that we have something that will help carry that fat through the lymph. Chlorophyll, which is in leafy greens. I like to use wheatgrass. So I buy evergreen wheatgrass, and there's shots. They come in shots, and that has a ton of chlorophyll in there. And chlorophyll is a great blood builder. It helps with detoxing. So it's really, really good.
Is that like barley grass?
Wheatgrass.
Wheatgrass.
Wheatgrass, yes. So it's before it becomes wheat. So you're not actually getting the kernels. It's the baby green, the grass.
That's when they grow it up, looks like
Yes,
grass.
exactly.
And then,
And I did sprout wheatgrass in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's not full, but if you want to take a clipping today, it's in baby stage.
Yeah. So if you want to do that, that's good. If you're a little lazy, I just buy it online and get it sent.
And then how do you use it?
You drink it. It's a shot.
But you
Juice.
get it in a.
So what I get the way that it comes, I think it's 2 ounces of little packages, and you have a supply for like, I think it's 30 days. You can either do 1 to 2 of those shots a day, depending also on your size and everything. I typically do 1 shot a day, and you just, I do that in the morning. It's easy. It doesn't taste bad, actually. People think it tastes bad. It's pretty good.
And you order on an organic form. Right?
Yes, Evergreens is what I use. Evergreens wheatgrass. They're in Canada, and they
you just go online and get it
Yes.
evergreen. Okay.
Yes, and they have, it's really good because it's organic. They make sure that they have it with sun in soil, which helps a lot. You
Does it
get
come in the glass?
Just lost everything.
No, it comes into little plastic like packages kind of, and it's frozen. So it comes frozen.
Was that chlorophyll? That is chlorophyll?
Chlorophyll.
Wheatgrass is chlorophyll?
Yes, it has a lot of chlorophyll. Wheatgrass has a lot of chlorophyll in it.
So I have my son do a shot a day.
A
and he
shot a
doesn't
day.
need of chlorophyll, or it's a teaspoon, or
Yeah.
he puts it in a juice drink or something.
Oh, you can get it dehydrated too. It's not only
Yeah.
If that's easier for you, you can get it dehydrated, and there's different websites that will have that. I don't use it that way, so I'm not sure. I'm just making sure that you get a good quality one.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the biggest thing, and making sure it's
I just wanted to mention that he doesn't need deodorant. It's a natural deodorant.
Oh, it's a detoxifant. Yes, it
You
definitely
don't have
helps. Yes,
And
for
he's
sure.
25.
It's really, really good. For skin issues, we've had a patient that has psoriatic arthritis, and he started taking that, and it really helped calm down his skin flare-ups. People that have IBS will help calm down their gut lining too. So it's used in different ways.
Yeah.
Nuts and seeds, because they have a lot of good fatty acids in there, anti-inflammatory ones. Adaptogenics are any herbs that are actually helping our body to go through stress and basically allow us to adapt to stress. That's why they're called adaptogenics. Tend to be very good for the lymph nodes too. So, echinacea, ashwagandha, mushrooms. Nowadays, a lot of people are starting to use mushrooms as mushroom coffee. There's real mushrooms is a really good product line that has different types like reishi and lion's mane. You can use different ones for digestion. There's other ones for brain health. So there's a lot of research that's coming up now with mushrooms.
Yes, I take mushrooms, but I get them online, but I haven't found like which one's the best. I know that
Real
lions,
mushrooms.
huh?
Real mushrooms. It's called, that's what the company's called. They have really good, clean products.
Real.
Real
Okay.
mushrooms, yep. Is really, really good product.
What do you
rise.
Rise.
Rise. I don't like the flavor as much as rise. Then the Sigmatic or whatever it is, I like it more. Sigmatic 4 it's called. And they both have different lion's mane and things like that that are good for brain. But they also have caffeine in it, a little bit of caffeine, but not as much as you would get in your normal coffee. And I did say, in the beginning, I did find that I got more energy through that than regular coffee, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better for you too in general than just doing straight caffeine. And Rise Coffee also has organic coffee in it, which is really important too, because you don't want the ones that are not.
So you eat a lot of fresh mushrooms too, or you just recommend buying them whole?
I have from Real Mushrooms a few different ones, reishi and all that stuff, because it's really hard to get like lion's manes and all these different mushrooms. And,
I buy a combination right now. They say lion's mane's the best, and then.
But you're saying fresh? You buy them?
No, I buy them off of Amazon.
Oh, so like as
and they have a
pilfer.
combination. And I wanted to make sure lion's mane was in there because my doctor said to make sure you get that. It's good for a lot of things.
It's good for brain.
Yeah, the brain.
Yes, the memory.
Memory, focus.
Yeah.
I will strongly suggest if my kids have learned to ask for it and look it up because it's not garlic soup.
Garlic soup.
If you like garlic soup, make it. If you come down when my kids will start feeling the effects of the cold, Mom, make me garlic soup. And at first I thought I have a recipe from my mother because she's old school from France, so sometimes they did all the holistic stuff and everything. And I have garlic water. So make sure you look up a good recipe.
Garlic water?
Garlic water is not good.
Garlic soup.
I learned the hard way. Garlic soup.
And you put also broth in there at all? Or
You
no?
put, you saute onions and garlic, and I put tons of garlic. I'm Italian and French, so we do lots of garlic.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a bone broth, add to it, and then we make a roux, okay? And then you put your broth, and you season it. I like eating then garlic croutons, they're garlic bread with it on top of it. But then that old French tradition, which none of you is good enough, is when you're done your bowl and you have leftover, you take a little bit of wine and you pour it in and rinse it out. But anyway, instead of being sick for 7 to 10 days, it's gonna drop it down to 5 or 6 days.
Awesome.
Okay, so it does help. And of course, the more garlic, and do not use elephant garlic, there's specific kind of garlic, some super garlics out there. Just a thought, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and garlic, as you see, it's boosts your immune system. I mean, it's great. And then ginger too, a great anti-inflammatory. We were talking with Judy before about she makes a tea with ginger and cloves and cinnamon, which is really good. So maybe Judy can share that with some people if you like. So getting any of these turmeric, again, the same thing as ginger, just a great anti-inflammatory. As we said, you don't have to do all of these things. Just pick the ones that you like. These are all here to kind of help you and guide you, and that way you have a lot of options and you can choose from. Seaweed, again, great to detoxify. It's a diuretic too, really great diuretic. So if you, as you were saying, Michelle, if you're retaining a lot of fluid, then that can be helpful too. And then citrus food that have that vitamin C in there, has the antioxidants, those are great as well. So we're gonna end here. Again, just ending with some things that you probably would wanna avoid. As we know, as we talked about on the last time that we were here, food is important and what we put in our body is really important. So sugar, things like that, that is gonna elevate our glucose, can make our lymph very sluggish. Table salt, a lot of table salt, that also retains a lot of fluid into our bodies. So those are some things to be aware of. And then lymphatic massage, stretching, yoga, those are great ways to also move the lymph. And lymphatic massage is very different than regular massage. It's very light. Again, as we said, we don't want really rough pressure. That's not going to really help the lymph. You want light pressure when you're doing the dry brushing, and the lymphatic massage is very light, and it'll come to your face, it'll do all the areas there. So now we go to the fun stuff. So we're all set, but I have some giveaways. So I'm going to give everyone, I'll bring them up front. You guys can grab them actually, little cards. friendly for you guys. There's also the vibration plates are right in front of the compression booth, so you can even go up on the vibration plate if you want afterwards. It's up to you, but those are 6 free sessions, so you can come in.
Oh, that's great.
Typically, the first one, you probably, if you've never done it on your own, you know, want to make sure that we're there so we can help you out. But in general, then you can just come, hook them up on you, and just sit down and do it on your own. It's really easy to, you know, do, very simple. So that's there for you guys, and you can come whenever you want into the office. And then if you want to try the Nordic Suite, which is that cold plunge with the sauna, you can go to that, the NordicSuite.com, and then it will pull up the Nordic Suite there, and then when you book, you put in Nordic 50. And that will make it just $50 because the normal price is $75. So it'll give you a discount on your first experience there of doing that. Sometimes it's a little wonky. I've had people say, oh, it didn't take the Nordic 50. If it doesn't, just call them. If you scroll all the way down, you can call to and you can tell them, hey, I was at a talk with Dr. Gigi. She gave us this, you know, code Nordic 50. Can you please apply it to my appointment? And that way you get it for sure at $50. And then the last thing I want to do is, so this is my phone number. This is what we're gonna do. We kind of did the same thing last time. So I have a free Nordic Suite experience here, completely free for one of you guys here. And the way that we're gonna do it is, I will have whoever wants to participate and wants to try the Nordic Suite can text their name, their first name with their last name and initial, at my number here. I'll get all the numbers. In that text message, if you want the slides that we just had here, and you want me to send that to you, then put your name and then underneath slides. If you also have questions and you want me to spend some time and you want to talk to me about anything, whether it's chiropractic or the lymphatic system or sleep or something specific you want, I can call you on Monday or Tuesday, depending how many people have questions, and we can talk through the phone and answer some of those questions. So if you want that, text me underneath, put call, so I can know who I'm going to call and who to not call. So if you want the slides, put slides. If you want me to call you on Monday or Tuesday, I'll, depending on how many people there are, put call. But everyone that wants to be part of it, just put at least your name and initial of your last name. That way we get all of that there. And then once I get all of those text messages in, I'll count them, and then Stephanie's gonna give me a number. I'll give her the range of how many texts we have, and she'll give me a number, and I'll count to that number. Whoever has that text message will win the Nordic Suite experience. Okay? So while you guys
What are we
do that,
doing?
I'll let you finish up doing that, and then
You're supposed to be doing it right now.
yes,
right?
yes,
What
right
are we
now.
supposed to be doing?
Yes, I do it right now because
If you want the
I've been
slides or
on
if you
cap
want to
because
call
we
me.
said we're
My
gonna
phone
I don't know how to
plugged in next to my bed.
Oh, no.
Oh, well.
text
Your
you.
number in your phone.
Not meant to be.
Yeah, like a
Cold
Here's a
plunge.
chance for you all.
Just go to your regular phone and add her.
Like that?
Or you go to your phone. Where's your phone?
Okay, let me know.
Yeah, where you
Are you
can
guys
send- where you can
almost
send
done?
it.
If you have questions right now, you can ask me any
Yeah.
questions as we wait for people to send those in.
My contacts.
Yes.
Have you seen those infrared blankets,
Yeah.
like domestic blankets that you can buy?
That was right there.
And then click close.
So those are, you're talking about the ones where it's like a sauna, but you just put it in, you're kind of like
It's
involved
like
in
a
it.
sleeping bag, like a
Those-
electric
Click the
sleeping
phone,
bag,
click on the phone.
and it comes out of it.
Do you sleep in it though?
I don't have one.
Oh, because I've seen the ones where they're kind of like a sauna, but for people that don't have the space for them. And so it does the same thing, it just kind of like comes up to here, and then you're like inside of that. I don't think you sleep those though. Yeah, so it's just like whatever, 20 minutes. Those can be good too, it's the same thing as being in a sauna, it's just a different way of doing it basically. So if you don't have the space and you don't, it's probably cheaper than getting a real sauna, it's definitely a great alternative to what,
Yeah, put your name.
to getting a big one or having to go somewhere to do that all the time.
How about, electromagnetic therapy,
I use the Beaver, and I know a lot of people use it, and it can be pretty beneficial. talk too much about it, but from my like personal use and then with my dog, it's
You're
really
such
helped,
a
and I know a lot of people actually
I'm like that too. I'm like that too, but I'm 76 now. My brain's slow for
You would never know it.
Hey, I've trained models.
So
my whole life,
it
and
typically is
been-
around
I guess it
at
works.
least, so
I
it
mean,
depends
I've
on the
been writing
person,
a book
but
one day, but
around
you
you want like hour and
before I
30
got in the
minutes,
trenches.
if you can get around there, is a good
This is a
amount.
lot of me trying to.
But again, if you remember, like there's
Because I had so much
cycles, so
time.
you won't get it all at once, so you kind of get it throughout the night and it keeps on switching. But if you have like a Oura Ring, like Barcast, it will tell you how much you slept, your deep sleep, and it will tell you, oh, you had a good amount of deep sleep, or you didn't have that good amount of deep sleep. So, and typically when you don't have that good amount, you'll feel like more sluggish, more tired, because you really need that to regenerate your tissues. So is everyone done with texting? Everyone text? Oh, we're good?
So that's
Okay.
well,
So we
everything.
have.
Okay, good.
This is a cute way to do it. I like it.
What is she doing now? Our
13. So I have 13. So pick a number from 1 to 13, Stephanie.
Let's go with number 7. 7 is a good
Six.
I don't have a
Seven.
number, or do I?
This is Sarah.
Is there another?
How many texts?
So Sarah, just whenever you're ready, call the office, or because it's a free one, it's better to not book it on the thing because it might make you put in your credit card or whatever. So call, and then they can book you for that appointment and get you into the cold plunge and sauna.
Oh, that would be so cool. Have another drawing. I want to
And you can, so, I mean, if you want to bring a friend with you, you can do it with a friend.
Yeah, one extra friend is
So-
$10 for an extra friend.
Well, I'll do it for you if you guys are together. I'll do it for free. So if you want to bring a friend with you, that's fine. You can bring a friend with
Oh,
that
wow,
experience.
3 extra friends.
I'll go.
Too much on now, Sarah.
We're all your friends here right now.
So if you want to, maybe it's your husband, maybe someone else, whoever you like, because in the sauna, you can both fit. Obviously, when you're doing the cold plunge, you're going to take turns in there. But if you want, some support with you and someone to do it with you, you can have, a friend come in.
Is it like a Monday through Friday work hours thing?
If you go online or see the different hours, what I would say if you call in is the best way to figure out, and they can tell you what's available. But we do have hours throughout the weekend, all from Monday to, I think there's some Saturday hours too. I'm not sure because I'm not part of like the appointment and scheduling of the Nordic Suite, so, but if you call the number, then they can help you set up that.
So you go online and you type in.
All right, thank you, Dr. We are so blessed to have Dr. Gigi.
Wow, yeah, I just can't hear, she's so
Of
soft.
course, my pleasure. I love that I can, spend time with you guys and give you some tools.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited.
And our next workshop again will be at Harborside the first Wednesday of the month, and then back here for our spa immersion on November 18th. So please fill out your surveys and leave them in the box as you exit. We are now going to step out to the patio and take a group picture. So
That's great.
set your things to the side and join us out here. We're going to have some of us seated and then the rest standing behind.
Okay. What are we doing now?
We're going to take a group picture